to say that anti-Semitism is a law of nature and that it's just embedded in we're born basically, Esau hates Jacob, and Gentiles are born hating Jews, and we don't even know why, and that Jews have been hated all over the world since the beginning of time, and this is basically God's plan.
Let's say that the Jews are even anti-Semitic. Let's say that most Jews are also anti-Semitic.
Well, before I say that, Seth, I want to even take a half a step back. Let's just agree on a framework, right? So, do we agree that we exist in a closed system? Is that fair to say?
What does that mean, Leo?
I don't know. We could live in an infinite universe, so it might
no universe. Yes,
endless energy, like in Enter the
Zohar. No. I agree. I'm saying here on Earth, our little existence, just it kind of feels like a fairly closed system, right? I mean, surrounded by a lot of void. Okay, for the most part.
Sure.
Okay, good. And
we're not making it off the earth as of yet.
Exactly. And in this system, there are forces operating through it, right? That's also fair to say.
Gravity, magnetism, electricity. Okay.
And nuclear forces, this maybe some forces that we haven't seen, right? We agree we live in a system, and we agree that there are forces working through the system. That's a given. Now, we can also assume that this system is evolving, is developing, it's moving towards a certain end. Now, we can argue whether this end is predestined, predefined by some divine entity, or there's simply some sort of evolution to nature. But we can, I think, fairly confidently say that it's not random as shit, as people like to put it, right? It's not a random. We don't live in a totally random.
If you have enough data points, everything is kind of predictable.
I get what you guys are saying. Yeah, it's a combination, not completely random. There's some order and some chaos. If you want to speak Kabbalistically,
forget even about the chaos aspect. Even scientists who look at subatomic particles and how they pop out of existence and out of absence into existence and back, they really talk about their movement as more being of a sort of a dance and interaction, and not this just Brownian randomness, which we used to assign
the positive and the negative forces.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so there's a whole dynamic here, and not only that, it seems as if there are certain, you kind of act a certain way, you exert in a certain direction, you get something in return. If you do certain things, you get maybe pain. Other things, you get pleasure. There's clearly some form of a framework that is pushing everything through it, right? Mm-hmm. We can say that. Good. So now the only question is, the next logical step is, as humans, we're also part of this system, right? We're not somehow above it. The fact that we can, always see exactly how we're moving and interacting and influencing each other. Just like particles and molecules and plants and animals, doesn't exclude us from the system. Correct? We're in the same.
I agree
system.
with that, but the Torah says that Adam is kind of above all of creation.
I know. Yeah. We'll get to the Torah. I'm just setting it up. So this is now. So you can say, instead of forces operating in terms of good and bad or pleasure and pain, you can say laws, right? Laws of nature, right? Mm-hmm. So there are certain laws of nature. You jump, walk off a building, you're going to fall and break your bones. That's just a law of nature. It's not because you were a bad Jew. You're a bad, mass to step off the ledge of a building and fall. So there are laws. Now, the only difference is that Kabbalists say you can call these laws mitzvahs, right? Commandments or laws. It doesn't matter. A scientist, an atheist will say, well, this is just, there's a system and we live in it. A Kabbalist will say, no, there is a purpose. That's the only difference. A Kabbalist says there is a purpose. I've seen the purpose, and I can describe to you where is this all leading to. That's the only difference between a Kabbalist and a everyday scientist. They also talk about system and laws and everything else. Except Kabbalists say this is it is necessary. It is purposeful. Whereas a scientist will say, well, there's just laws, right? That's the only difference. So now, if you put into this system, start to put people and say this group will act this way and this group will act another way, now you start to have this interaction. And humans, being who we are, we start to label things, to ascribe feelings to them and all that. That's the beginning of all the confusion, okay? Because we include our feelings, our emotions in it, and our attitudes onto those laws that we don't even see clearly. That's the basis of all this confusion. So when you say, I disagree with anti-Semitism being a law of nature. No, but if we called it in this other name, saying, well, nature moving us in this direction, and all these particles need to start kind of moving together while keeping their differences, right? But somehow moving together, not fighting over resources, but actually collaborating like bacteria does. And if this group of particles doesn't help this process, then the rest of the particles will apply pressure on it. Okay, that's what we're talking about. So this is already...
Okay, let me ask you then, because this is where we differ. If, say, ancient Jews, instead of developing the Torah, they had a religion that was something like Buddhism, do you think that you would have seen the history of anti-Semitism that we've seen?
No, but
we're
so
saying
then
that
it's not a law of nature. It's coming directly from the Torah. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, but where's it coming
says
from?
That.
No, but where's the Torah coming from?
The Torah predates the world.
No.